I should be writing number 480.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hey there, welcome to I Should Be Writing, the podcast for wannabe fiction writers. I'm your host, Mur Lafferty. And yesterday I asked for more show ideas, and you guys came through. It was kind of a crappy day. I woke up with a migraine, not real happy, so I drove my kid to school, and then I took a migraine pill, and then I was out for the rest of the day. So, did not get a lot done today. Kind of annoyed at myself, even though, I had a migraine. There's not a lot I could do about that. I mean, if I'd spent the day in pain, I also would have gotten nothing done, so. But this is all my drama. So I asked for ideas where I was going with this, and somebody spoke up in the Discord about it, and then emailed me. So I wanted to discuss it. There's the problem of the new book, American Dirt, I think it's called. The author is getting crap because she's a white American woman telling a story of a Mexican immigrant, and got a 7-figure advance, and got an Oprah's book club, and New York Times bestseller, while a bunch of actual Mexican immigrants are going, hey, my book got rejected by publishers for not being relatable enough. But this woman writes a stereotype-filled novel about a story that I lived, and she gets all the attention. And so a lot of people are wondering, so we're told that if we write stories about just white people, it's not diverse and it's not realistic, but we're also told we can't tell stories about other people's experiences. What do we do? Just in case you don't know, I myself am American, straight, cis, white woman. But from what I've been reading, here's how I understand it. The problem is not inherently with the author. Should this woman have written the story? Probably not. But the real problem is with publishing, because publishing is the ones who decide that when a white person writes a story about a person of color's experience, it is a brave look at an exotic plot. Whereas when that person tells their own story, it belongs in African American fiction, queer studies, Hispanic fiction, women's fiction. But if person of privilege writes it, it belongs in literature. When a white person makes a story about Mexican immigrants, she gets 7 figures. She gets put in the front of the bookstore. She gets chosen by Oprah's book club. She's a New York Times bestseller. A Mexican woman writes this story. She gets put in Mexican studies and gets maybe a $5,000 advance and gets, if she's lucky, a shelf in the back of the bookstore. This is the problem. So we as writers can't fix that. This is a problem on the publishing level. What we can do is not write those stories. If the world were a lovely level playing field, then people who had experiences that were marginalized would be able to tell their own stories and be successes and be taught in colleges and be considered pillars of literature. And then maybe, once you've read those people, you could write your own story. But we're not even close to being there yet. People tell me guys have said when they get angry about people saying, look, stop writing other people's stories. They're like, well, you guys get to write stories about straight white men. Why is that okay? That's okay because we have been told forever that that is the dominant story. That is the story we always see. We see the story of the straight white guy. and his trials and his tribulations and his adventures. So we all know how to tell that story because it surrounds us. But until we let other people tell their own stories and let those stories permeate our consciousness, people of privilege should not be telling those stories. There are plenty of other stories to tell. Should you put other people from other worlds, and I use worlds metaphorically, I'm not talking science fiction, I'm talking people not like you, in your books? Yes, because that reflects the world we live in. But do your research. It's funny, a lot of these, systemic sexism and racism and everything is so ingrained. Many people, even marginalized people, accept it. For example, I recently read that there's a woman who wrote a book about a feminine response to alcoholism because the 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't speak to the female experience. Because step 1 is submit to a higher power and admit you're not in control. And women are told they're not in control from birth. That's the world we live in. And no matter how progressive your family is, you look outside and you see who is ruling, who's in control, who's in the military, who's in the police. I mean, these are predominantly male roles. They are the ones in the control. And so we learn, well, we can push back as much as we want, but this is a systemic thing. So, step 1, okay, got that. We already knew that. And I had never even thought of that. I'd never considered that 12-step program being inherently male, because giving up power is a big thing for a guy to do. And so even me, a feminist, this was a novel idea, not realizing that the experience of the 12-step program is a male experience. It starts out, I have not studied all 12 steps to see how they work or don't work, but, I talk about this recently with the whole self-help book thing. I'm tired of guys telling me how to fix my life when they don't understand the experience I have. And this is along the same line. So, if you are from a privileged place, whether gender-wise or sexuality or race or religion, treat other people's stories with respect. And maybe if you have an idea to tell a really cool kind of story that's predominantly somebody else's, maybe think of another really cool story. You're a writer. You can do that. Because until publishing fixes itself, there's not a lot we can do except for not give them stories to publish. And as I said, I am speaking from a predominantly privileged position. There are plenty of people writing about this who are in a better place of knowledge than I am. I will always, always recommend Writing the Other by Nisi Shaw and Cynthia Ward. It is a fantastic book about, writing the other. It's pretty obvious. There's also frequent classes from the Writing the Other website, and they cover everything from disabled voices to fat characters beyond, race and gender and sexuality. And it's got a lot of really great resources. So I'm going to suggest you go there. But hey, if anybody from publishing's listening, do better, please. Thanks. If you're enjoying I Should Be Writing, you can support the Patreon for even $1 a month. That would be so helpful to me. You can do that at patreon.com/mightymur, and you can see the blog and show notes at murverse.com. I'm on Twitter occasionally at mightymur. I play a lot of Stardew Valley on PC and Switch, if anybody's into that. Don't know why I brought that up, just thought it would be fun. But keep working, keep telling your stories, and I'll see you tomorrow, because you should be writing. Remember, you can support the show at patreon.com/mightymur. I Should Be Writing's theme music provided by John Anelio. You can find more about him at johnanelio.com. This podcast is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license.